say hi. Um, my husband, Bill, is a dog person, and I am not. And when we bought our first house together, he was very excited because he could finally get a dog, and he loves dogs, and I love him. So I said, okay. And I thought it'd be good practice anyway, because that's what new couples do. They get a dog to practice having kids, which is really kind of stupid anyway, because you'd never put your kid in a crate all night and scream like, shut up. But I went along with it, and we went to the SPCA, and Bill sees this beautiful black lab, and he says, I would like to meet that dog. So we go into a room, and they bring us this black lab, and the first thing he does is jump on my legs and urinate at my feet over my dead body. Am I bringing this dog home? So I turn to the woman from the SPCA, and I say, what is the kindest, nicest dog you have here? And a few minutes later, in comes bouncing in this 10-pound beagle. And I know, and I put my hand down for him to sniff it, and he starts licking my hand, and his ears are really silky, and he's brown and white with a little black saddle, and his tail is in that perfect C shape off his tush. And his feet smell like Fritos, and he's just, fabulous. And he's doggy enough for my husband, but sweet enough for me. And so in that moment, we kind of fall in love with him. So we take him home, and we name him Max. And those first few weeks they're just fabulous. My husband takes Max on long walks, and he curls up with us while we watch TV, and he greets me at the door, and he's the best dog ever, at first. Because a few months later, my husband gets a new job, which requires him every Monday morning to get on a plane and fly to Atlanta, and he doesn't come home until Friday night. And that's when the problem starts, because Max starts now chewing things around the house. Shoes, but just my shoes. And I yell at him to stop, and he just barks at me, like back talking, but it's like bark talking. And then he starts howling a lot, and he howled before, but just a little, but now it's a lot, and it's like every squirrel or leaf that passes his way, he howls, and it's a deep, loud howl that you could hear around the cul-de-sac. And then his anal sacs start leaking. I know, you all know what that is, right? Like the sacs with that brown, oily liquid to mark their territory. And I would wake up and find this around the house, and I would be forced to go to the vet to get them drained. And I would complain to my husband that he'd be barking and destroying things. And my husband would come home on the weekend, and Max would be loving and fine. And that dog was making me look like a liar. And I felt really manipulated, because in his world, there was a pack, and Bill was alpha, and then there was Max, and I was on the bottom. And I didn't like that. I mean, this adorable beagle, in the span of a few months, had turned into this, like, foul-smelling, manipulative, leaking animal. And on top of this, around the same time, I had gotten pregnant with twins, which, given Bill's travel schedule, was something of a miracle. But between the dog and my pregnancy, it was a lot of stress, and I really couldn't take it. So our vet suggested that we take Max to the University of Pennsylvania Animal Behavioral Clinic, the dog shrink. Which is somewhat ironic, because I've been working for weeks to get him off the couch. Now I want to get him back on the couch. So I take him down there, and he gets evaluated by a team of specialists, an animal behavioralist, 2 residents, and 2 vet students. And they evaluate me, Bill, and Max, how we all interact. Their diagnosis is severe separation anxiety. And the treatment is, I have to play with Max more to increase our bonding, and a daily regimen of Paxil for Max. Although for me would probably have helped too. So we do this, and it does get better. And the dog Max likes his Kong, and he likes his tennis ball, and everything is fine, and it improves. But then I give birth to twins, and it's still okay. But then once the babies start walking around and toddling around the house, Max starts growling at them every time they come near. And I'm like, well, that's it. I can't have that. The dog's got to go. But we can't bring him to the SPCA because, right? So my husband said, well, let's put him on like Beagle rescue site, see if we can adopt them out. So we put his picture there, and we say he comes with references from his vet, from his dog walker, from his therapist. And he gets 2 interviews with 2 different couples, but he never gets a second interview. It seems nobody wants like a middle-aged, child-hating beagle with leaky anal sacs, separation anxiety, and a Paxil habit. So we have the baby gates set up in our house and to keep him away from the kids so he doesn't hurt them. And we lived like that for years. It's like living in Berlin before the wall falls. And that's how we exist. And then after a while, Max gets sick and he gets Addison's disease. And then he starts getting seizures and sometimes he would fall down. And then when he really couldn't even walk anymore, we knew it was time. And, he was nobody's definition of a family pet, but he was our family pet. So even still, taking him to the vet that last time was really very sad. And about 2 years after that, my kids started bugging me again for another dog. And I said, absolutely not, I can't go through this again. But I would consider a cat. And I heard that you don't choose a cat chooses you. So not too long ago, we went back to the SPCA, and we met this cream color, medium hair domestic cat that rubbed himself up against me and rubbed himself up against Bill and the 2 kids. And we kind of fell in love. So we brought him home and we named him Benjamin Franklin. And he's been very friendly and he's been very social. Ben hasn't hissed at the kids or scratched at them. So far our first impressions are pretty good. But he's still young.